Tonight on Toyota World Sport, the Millennium Stadium ready for FA Cup showdown, and AC Milan stumble gives Juventus the crown. This is Toyota World Sport. Final 3 goals to inflict the Eagles' first loss of the season. Meanwhile, Carlton's final game at Optus Oval didn't go exactly to plan, with the Blues beaten by Melbourne.
It was first against last at the MCG, and the unbeaten West Coast Eagles booted the opening 3 goals against Collingwood. Leading by 12 at quarter time, the Eagles let the Pies back into the contest. A 6-2 second term gave Collingwood a sniff of an upset. West Coast came back from 20 points down to regain the lead with a quarter to go. Collingwood appeared the more desperate. 3 quick goals and the seesawing contest continued.
He's got time to shoot and goal!
The lead changed 4 times in the final term, but it was Collingwood on top in a thriller.
Defeated top side, the West Coast Eagles, by 23 points at the MCG. The Magpies scored 7 goals to 2 in the final term to send the Eagles home with their first loss of the season.
Despite only 4 wins out of 16 at the MCG over the last 8 years, the Eagles showed no signs of stage fright early. As their best player looked on, the West Coast's Michael Gardner displayed his skills in front of goal. The Magpies lifted their intensity midway through the opening term. Blake Caracella able to provide a target for Collingwood up forward. The Eagles under extreme pressure in an intense contest. Local MCG conditions worked in Scott Burns' favour.
This could bounce through! This could bounce through!
Collingwood with the run of play in an enthralling contest. Chad Fletcher gave the visitors a much-needed steadier as the Pies played football well beyond their bottom-of-the-ladder position. The Pies showed more commitment as they took an unexpected 13-point lead at the half-time break. Chris Tarrant gave the Pies an ideal start to the third term. The Eagles replied through the skillful Ashley Sampi, while Quentin Lynch failed to find the right target. No problems, however, for Chad Fletcher as the Eagles mounted a spirited comeback.
Bring it back and put it through for a goal!
West Coast with an 8-point lead with a quarter to play.
He's got 3.
If Collingwood was to win this game, it needed something special.
There's a poor bounce, taken by Egan, kicks a goal!
An Alan Didak bomb put the Pies back in front. And that's where they stayed. Collingwood with a memorable 23-point win over the West Coast.
In progress sees Pies trailed by 2 goals early in the last term before storming home to win by 23 points.
It was red hot. He had 2 of West Coast's first 3. Collingwood's only hope was to bomb it long.
Shaw's in position, is a chance for the Pies, he's got it!
Shaw's conversion ignited a mini revival, but the difference was Cox, who dominated the ruck.
Hammers at home.
But the Eagles' 12-point quarter-time lead had soon evaporated, and luck was a fortune.
This could bounce through. That's the thrill of the grass at the MCG.
This was pressure-packed football. The Pies' 38-point turnaround completed by Caracella. The third term was an arm wrestle as the lead swapped 4 times.
Measure it, bring it back and put it through for a goal.
Malthouse needed to spur someone to turn around an 8-point deficit, and it was his kids.
It was a poor bounce, taken by Egan, kicks a goal.
Egan's 2 final term goals matched by Didak, the Pies' young gun securing a huge upset win.
Senior players stood up. I thought some of the kids were pretty good. But next week's a new week. We'll tack that when it comes.
Tonight on Fox Sports News, the Waratahs chasing their first Super 12 final. A weakened Bulldogs upsets Melbourne in the NRL.
And Utah will run 80 metres to score underneath the black dots.
Carlton's losing farewell to Optus, the Magpies' surprise win, the Tigers and the Lions bare their claws.
He doesn't miss it, and he does it now.
And
good evening, I'm Sammy Lukkas.
The Eagles were playing their first premiership game in Melbourne this season, and the Magpies were desperate to break a 5-game losing streak. Chris Judd may have been on the wrong side of the fence, but the visitors won the start with Gardner off to a flyer.
And snaps a goal. He is red hot, Michael Gardner.
It wasn't all one-way traffic, though. Collingwood shook off the cobwebs and put the Eagles under some pressure. Shaw and Caracella got the Pies back into it. The league leaders, though, regained the lead when Daniel Chick bombed away. Not bad for a halfback. But the Magpies weren't too bad either for a team running last. They came alive in the second quarter. First it was Travis Cloak, then Tarrant set up Lucuria, and Caracella made it 6 goals to 2 for the term, and the Magpies looked sensational.
Caracella, hand was important. He'll benefit with a goal. The Pies are in front.
West Coast answered the challenge in the third quarter after trailing by 20 at one stage. Chad Fletcher was one of their best. He set up a grandstand finish.
Measure it, bring it back and put it through for a goal.
Didak was all fired up and he ruffled a few feathers. When he was playing footy, he gave the Magpies every chance of completing the upset. It was a great contest and a terrific final term. Collingwood finished the stronger and handed West Coast their first loss of the season. It was the first time in more than 8 years that last had beaten first.
This is Fox Sports News. After the break,
It's the upset of the season. The bottom of the table Magpies defeating the previously unbeaten Eagles at the MCG today, trailing by 2 goals early in the last term. They stormed home to win by 23 points.
Despite a sidelined Brownlow medalist, the Eagles were still flying and Gardner was red hot.
And snaps a goal.
He had 2 of West Coast's first 3. Collingwood's only hope was to bomb it long.
Shaw's in position, is a chance for the Pies. He's got it.
Shaw's conversion ignited a mini revival, but the difference was Cox, who dominated the ruck.
Hammers at home.
But the Eagles' 12-point quarter-time lead had soon evaporated, and luck was a fortune.
This could bounce through. That's the thrill of the grass at the MCG.
This was pressure-packed football. The Pies' 38-point turnaround completed by Caracella. The third term was an arm wrestle as the lead swapped 4 times.
Measure it, bring it back and put it through for a goal.
Malthouse needed to spur someone to turn around an 8-point deficit, and it was his kids.
Was a poor bounce, taken by Egan, kicks a goal.
Egan's 2 final term goals matched by Didak, the Pies' young gun securing a huge upset win.
The youngsters come on, and you've broken the Pies at home. Senior players stood up. I thought some of the kids were pretty good. But next week's a new week. We'll tack that out when it comes.
Dylan Howard.